Hello, how are you today? Wherever you are and however you are watching, whether you are watching us live or if you are watching us uh, via recording, let us know where you are. Let us know your genealogy group because there could be a genealogy soul out there that needs saving. I was at the archives the other day and I met a genealogy soul that needed saving because they were telling the archivists all their business. All of the archives was closed, but they were telling all their business. This is what genealogy groups are for. People in genealogy groups love to hear the twists and turns and the tales of how you got to find your family or your troubles on why you can't find them. So I always encourage everyone to join a genealogy group. And I also encourage you to subscribe to our newsletter. There you have it down there, our QR code. You will, when I send out the newsletter, you will know what the quick starts are going to be for the next episode. So, okay, sorry about that. I have a little challenge. There's some newness in StreamYard, but today we have two new quick starts for you. And one of them I'm going to do. But first, Jim and Michael come up with really great quick starts as usual. And this one is that word you can't figure out. How often have you done research and you're reading those old probate documents? Usually probates have some interesting language. It could be deeds. It could be all sorts of things. Jim and Michael are going to share. How do you figure out what that word is? Sometimes it might not even be meaning. It might just be how it's written. So lots of different interesting things that they are going to help with during their quick start. And if you have some interesting words or you've come across something that was interesting that you could use some help with, put that in the comments. We'd love to hear it. And then I am going to do a quick start called Rooting Out Underground Railroad Paths and People. The Underground Railroad has been my life recently, and I just want to share different ways that you might be able to uncover ancestors or Underground Railroad activity in the area in which you are doing your research. So without further ado, let me bring on the Quick Start team. First up, columnist and editor James M. Beidler. Jim. And I'm believing, Jim, I'm believing. And next up, genealogy tip, a foot. I believe in feet. Genealogy tip, I'm looking at your shirt. Genealogy tip of the day, Michael John Neill. Let's see the whole shirt. What's that shirt all about?
Mine? That has nothing on it.
Believe there is good in the world. Crop hunger walk. Gotcha. Fantastic. Love it. Thank you for sharing. So you have a great quick start coming up here today. Um, where is it? Oh, I wanted to ask you first. Do you have any ancestors that were a part of Underground Railroad or activity or that were Quakers or had anything to do with, that whole thing?
I don't have any that I know of. I few ancestors who were enslavers, but in Pennsylvania. Yeah.
I have several who were enslavers. One I know off the top of my head freed his slaves in his will in Kentucky in 1840. And one of my long-term goals is I've got their first names and that's it. I would like to try to trace them and see at least what happened to them, for a while after they were emancipated. But I have no idea if they stayed or they went north. I kind of have my suspicions they went north, but
So where were your Southerners?
well, these were in Kentucky. I've got some that were in Virginia and Maryland, and I have a few. I have Marylanders and Virginians who were enslavers, and my Kentucky guy too.
And Kentucky. So all that you're just Midwest all the way, middle of the thingy right there. So we have Judy is here from Chicagoland and Fox Valley Genealogical Society. Judy, we're so happy to see you first. And hello, Marion. I'm glad, Marion. Which subject do you like, Marion? We're glad you like the subject. I'm just curious as to which subject you are curious about. So let's look at the first quick start. What is this all about? Oh my goodness. I didn't change that one. Yeah, I'm kind of like challenged with these steps. I hope I have the right steps.
Step
Okay,
2.
that's the right step. Okay, so the title of your quick start today is what?
That word you can't figure out.
A
And
word you
when
can't
you were
figure.
talking about it, we really should have called it that scribble you can't figure out, because we're not going to focus on terminology and what words mean. Not that that doesn't matter, because it does matter. It matters a lot. But we're going to focus on that squiggle, that wiggle, that scratch mark. That's a word, but you just don't know what it is. That's our focus in this session.
Yep.
All right. So let's go ahead with your Marion said all the subjects are great. So we picked some good ones today. So let's go ahead and get started with what's the name of it again?
That word you can't figure out.
All right. So for that word you can't figure out, step 1 is to transcribe the entire document. How do you guys like to transcribe? What's your transcription tips?
Well, I'm old school. I just do it. I type. I don't. I like to type it out, and I just transcribe the whole thing. And like mentioned in the step, don't stop at that one word you can't figure out and focus on it so hard that you don't do anything else. Put a blank and go right on. And if it's a legal document, many times legal documents, particularly deeds and some probate court documents, there's a lot of boilerplate text that is very similar from one of those to the next. But get all that you can first, that then you might be able to, once you've kind of figured out the words you maybe have understood that guy's writing a little bit better. You can go back and you can figure it out. That also gives you more words to use some of the other things that we're going to suggest that you try once you've got more words figured out.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Michael. And in a institute class that I took a couple years ago, that was one of the things they recommended with German church records, which are notoriously scribbled. Is don't even though what you're most interested is the surnames and the place names, don't lose your hair if you haven't over that. Start with the template words, start with the easy words, and then fill in the blanks.
Because that can really help you get started. Because like German records, there's about 80% of them are the same, especially in some church records. And you can like you mentioned, get a good idea of what the handwriting is and what the other letters are, and then use that. Because you can look at the script guides, but every pastor or every clerk has some nuances that are weird, and using the boilerplate words can help you get a feel for what those letters are.
Yep.
So Gemini's mentor, Kay Havlin Freilich, said, read the document first, just read it through, and then come back and transcribe it all the way through. These pieces for what you don't know, like Michael said, and then you come back and do all that you guys said. So great. And I like the voice type now, so that helps it to go by quicker and it's less cumbersome. So step 2 is to search the web for phrases or known part. Please explain.
Well, this kind of goes back to that, especially with legal documents in English. The fact there's a lot of boilerplate that is common from one document to the other. So you could put a few words before and a few words after the word, and just see what Google or whatever your search engine does. You might find someone who's transcribed a different document that has that same phrase, particularly if it's a legal phrase you can't interpret, that would be one way to start with that. Because
I hate when in lieu. I'm sorry, Michael, I cut you
no,
off.
chances are somebody else has transcribed a similar thing and they've put it online, and it will come up in a Google search, or at least give you some ideas.
Okay, so that's step 2. Step 3 is then to scan the record for handwriting clues. So you guys kind of talked about that a little bit. Do you want to share anything more about that?
It's just really important. That's why we're talking about it again.
Right? So scan the record for writing clues, getting to know how the person makes their S's and their B's and their letters. And I really hate when like in lieu of, like I'm like, what is that? What is this? Something stupid like in lieu of. But yeah, learn the terminology of the time period. So step 4 is to review other records of the ancestor for clues. So what does that mean?
We're going to see this in one of the examples, but in a little more detail. But if it's an occupation or even a location that's in a document you can't read, look at other records where maybe that same word appears and it's more legible. Don't just focus on one record. There may be like if it's a death record that gives the birthplace you can't read, see if there's a sibling that died that was born in that same town. Maybe it's easier to read there. I did that with a double great grandfather. His was atrociously hard to read, but on his brother's death record, I think it was typed or printed. Bless the informant that printed the death certificate. That other guy that scribbled it needs to be cursed. But anyway, look at where it might elsewhere be. It might be written easier for you to interpret. If not the whole thing, at least part of it.
Understood. So that's step 4. Then step 5 is, I love this step. Like we have never had this step. This is the first time we've had this step. And you say, ask for help. Like we try to be these lone solo researchers. So who are we asking for help? And what are we asking? Because sometimes we don't do a good job of that. Hence the lady who came in and was like oversharing. I was so embarrassed. I wanted to just say, shut up.
Well, on that note, you could, there's Facebook groups where you could post a clip or portion of the document, underline or circle what you're trying to read. Don't ask them to transcribe the whole thing for you. But don't just focus on that one word. Give them enough script that's legible and readable that makes it easier for them to get a feel for what that thing you can't read could be. But there are Facebook groups, that you could post these things to. I was German. There are some German groups where you can post those things. There's other groups like that. If you're a member of your genealogy society, you could take it there. That would be a really great a monthly activity at your group, and you can't find a speaker or don't want to pay a speaker or whatever the case may be. You could say, everybody bring one document you have words on you can't read, and we'll all look at them together. That might not be a bad activity.
Yeah, in the German genealogy world, Katie Schober, who we've had on Quick Start. Her Germanology Unlocked business offers an Ask the Translator service for people who join her, take a membership. And, that gives you a once a week opportunity to submit a document. And, you're not, like Michael was saying with the other groups, you don't say, oh, yes, please translate the entire thing for me. No, you concentrate on one word, maybe 2 or 3 words, but you make an honest effort yourself before you turn it over to the group and ask for their help. And they have one of Katie's contractors who goes over all the things that are submitted, and we all also um, everybody who's a part of it will sometimes offer their guesses. So,
No,
And give
people
some
love that.
some
And it's actually,
context.
go ahead. Hmm.
I have to say, just when you post to these groups, whether it's one of the German ones or Swedish ones or English language ones or whatever, make sure you give some context. Don't just say, "What is this word?" Indicate this is a baptismal record from wherever in 1590 or whatever, to help. That helps people help you when they have some context. And if you
yep.
transcribe some of those words surrounding it, include that, because that ties back into what Jim said. You show you've made some effort, and people are more likely, especially in some of those groups, they're more likely to respond if they know you've really given it a try,
Yes.
just at your wits end with it.
You give some, you get some.
Exactly.
Give some, you get some. And I think it's freaky scary how entertained genealogists are by trying to figure out words. Like, you're not bothering anybody. We enjoy the task of doing that. You guys have so much. Oh, did you have a step 6? I think ask for help is it.
I think
So
that when
let's
you're
look.
asking for help, you're kind of at your end. That's the end of
Let
it.
me I thought I put your slides up here. Uh-oh, I hope it wasn't too big. So give me 1 second to get that up, because I ended up putting a lot of stuff in it because I knew you guys were leaving me. Let's see. You have some great examples. Let's see. It is uploading.
I guess while we're waiting for it to upload, step 6 would probably be to complete the transcription. Put that word in there that you've got transcribed. If you had to guess at what it was because you still weren't certain, then you might want to put that in brackets and maybe have an annotation at the end of it indicating why you think that or what else it could be or something. But if you're guessing, if at the end you're still guessing, put it in brackets. Maybe put a question mark around it to indicate that you were not sure what that word was.
All right. For some reason, it is still processing. I think it's humongous. I'm just going to go old school right now. Oh, here it is. They heard me talking about it.
Right.
All right. So, so what do we have here?
Well, this is one that I kind of thought fit into this quick start, and it's kind of one of the best. I'll call it a gimmick, but I don't mean that in any demeaning way. Because in German genealogy, you know, the the places are often put in the church registers, especially, and inevitably the first 3 letters are complete squiggle that you can't figure out, but the ending's fine.
Yeah.
So what Dr. Miner did, who's the eminent now retired Brigham Young University professor, is he put together these reverse alphabetical indexes that and if we go to the next slide, we'll see the here are the Oshes and Bachs in Posen, I believe it was. And so if if that place name, it's Bach or Enbach or something like that, you can then go and see, based on how many letters it seems like are in the word you're
Okay.
looking for, that you can then narrow it down to the right, Bach or Osh or whatever.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a really clever new thing that, I mean, I guess it was about 20 years ago now that he put out the first of these, and he has these for all of the German states.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to switch gears on this example. This is a notice of where probate announcements were sent, I think in 1912, something like that. And I couldn't read them, and I was just curious where they were, but I could make out bits and pieces of them. And the one I was interested in was the one it's the first line of script there, Exchange Bank of something I couldn't quite make out. And so that was a case where I went to books.google.com, and I think that one of the results is on the next image. I typed in what I could read, and I had to go through some hits, but this was one of the hits that came up. And when I saw this, I knew I had what I wanted because I went back, looked at the script. Oh yeah, that was Cheryl Scholl and whatever else. So this,
Oh,
I did it. This was a little different from Jim's example, but it was, I searched Google Books for those words, hoping that business was mentioned somewhere in a book. And I could maybe do that with the others. Some are going to be a little more difficult. I could also search for newspapers for some of those.
nice.
In this case, I know they were in existence about whatever it is, 1912, 13. I could put maybe a plus or minus 3 or 4 years on that and maybe figure out what those other words were if I'm having trouble. But Google Books and local newspapers will be one good place to try to get some of those. Because this is an example where it's not legal terminology. We talked about that.
Right,
They
right.
could put in Google Books.
Yeah,
This was
yeah.
local to the area, so you're going to have to get some local reference to help you with that. But this I use books.google.com to figure that one out.
I
And
love this
you could also
example.
use newspapers too for the location.
Oh yeah, anything in the built environment.
Excuse me. This is a really fun example because I posted this to Facebook, and by the time I posted it, I figured out what I thought it was, but I kind of wanted to lead people down the wrong path because I like to do that. This is an occupation of a gentleman from the 1950 census, and it looks like on the surface the census taker has simply transcribed a few letters and meant to write geologist. The L and the O, and that's, if you think about when you transpose letters, that's typically not how you transpose letters. They're usually adjacent. And
Yeah.
this is an example. We talked in one of the steps about looking at other records, learning more about the person. And I learned more about this person. I forget, I'm going to see what else we've got up on the slides there, but there should be another census and maybe a death record, I think. This is him from the top one there in orange or peach, whatever color that is. No, the yellow one. I'm sorry, the yellow one. The yellow one is him in 1940. He's a legal investigator in 1940. And clearly legal investigator. That you can't misread what that is. You can't misinterpret that.
Right.
Judy is mentioning they lost the sound. Are you noticing that?
No.
Or does that appear to be a Judy
Is
issue?
anyone else having sound issues?
Yeah, if you're having sound issues, mention that in the chat, please.
In
if
the
you're
chat,
listening here
please.
live.
Yeah.
And then
Sorry, Judy.
if we go to the next one, this is from his death certificate. And when I saw this, then I was pretty certain. It says now he does probate research in estates. And this is from, I think, the 1955. I cut that off, but 55, I think, was when he died. And so that first occupation where it looks like he's a geologist, I can't even say that, geologist, I think it was actually genealogist that
oh my gosh,
did not read. Because you think about what he's doing legal investigative work.
Yeah.
Later it shows he's doing probate, like airship type work.
Yeah.
And you think about, who does some of that work, figuring out relationships and that of deceased people. You do some genealogy work.
Interesting.
And I think in 1950, he said that he was a genealogist. The census taker had never heard of it. It kind of sounded like geology. So he just kind of, messed it up a little bit. That's my speculation. But that's an example of looking at other records to try to interpret that word.
That's a great example.
Yeah. The handwriting wasn't too bad. If you go back to that for just a second, the handwriting wasn't really hard to figure out.
No, it's good handwriting.
It's nice handwriting. And this is example 2 where, although I don't know, he spelled research kind of funny, whatever. But anyway, we want to look at other words on the page, and he pretty much had things spelled right. It wasn't like he was every so often transposing letters. He didn't do that. When you look at on the whole page and a page 4, whatever, you can tell he's not transposing letters. So that's probably not what's going on here. He's misspelling something.
But
It's
he's
a little
not doing anything that people don't do today. People
no, at
think that
least he
we
didn't
do
write
a lot,
gynecologist. He did
and
pretty good. I
people
mean,
think we say
um,
gemologist. Like, I
exactly,
get that
exactly.
all the time. That's hysterical.
Years ago when I taught a genealogy class for community ed at the college where I was employed, one of the ladies thought it was gynecology. She thought I was teaching gynecology. Um, and I just simply said no,
Did she
no.
drop the class?
No, it was one of the staff. It was one of the staff.
Oh,
I said we try to figure out who reproduced with whom, but that's as far as it goes.
I hope you didn't try to take advantage of the situation.
I did not. I just was very polite and went right on.
she said, "I know this looks like a closet, ma'am. This is a modern closet, modern office."
I just I'm not sure what she was thinking. This is our last example. This is from my grandfather's farm journal in 1944, and this I knew what this was, but this is one where if you don't, it's Carthage O period buyer. He's abbreviated there. This is another one where maybe looking in local newspapers in the time period will give you a clue what that was. And so I did some searching, and I think we've got a screenshot there. If it came through of a newspaper
Oh yeah.
advertisement that mentions that. It mentions Carthage order buyers, and that's what it was a livestock auction. He bought some livestock there. So that was an example we're looking. But some of these things you can do a broad Google search, like in legal documents. That would be a way to start with those words, would be just in Google in general. But some of these things that are more localized, you're going to want to look in either local books or local newspapers to get clues to what those words could be and what those items could be.
Not everybody with $1 to spare can shoot a gun straight, but everybody can shoot straight to the bank and buy war bonds.
Yeah, this was from 1943, so they're pushing the war bonds there.
Oh my gosh. So this is saying, you get more sows. The more you get, the cheaper they are.
Well, they're getting too fat maybe or something.
Go down to $13.40
they're
from
getting
$13.75. What's the difference between a hog and a sow, Mr. Midwest?
I would say a sow's reproduced.
Okay.
I'm guessing what that reference is to.
Cool. All right. Anything else that you wanted to add about what did they mean by that?
I can't really think of anything. Just like we mentioned, if you're not sure, put it in brackets in your transcription, and then maybe if you need to annotate that after the transcription.
My favorite part was join a genealogy group so they can help you with those words.
That would be a great monthly meeting activity if your group needs something to do. Just everybody bring a word or a document with a word that you can't read.
All right, let's look at the steps for that word you can't figure out, like the quick start title that I cannot remember. Step 1, transcribe the entire document. Step 2, search the web for phrases or for the phrase or known part of the phrase. Step 3, scan the record for handwriting clues. Step 4, review other records of the ancestor for clues. And step 5, ask for help. I love that step. Jim and Mike. Oh, we had a couple, since we have some time. We have 30 seconds left. I think we had some comments from our wonderful viewers, and Marion had commented at some point to get informed about the special language around widow rights. I guess that'll help you with understanding what the wording is saying. That's a great idea. Also, Robin says, hello from Texas. I work in legal. When reading difficult documents, sometimes I close my eyes and think of the boilerplate. Amazing how much legal ease is still the same as 100+ years ago. That's what I think is hysterical for sure. And let's see. I think that's it. Thank you for that. And can I get that off? Yes.
There you go.
Jim and Michael, appreciate you. Take care.
Thanks, guys.
All right. I don't want you to go. All right. Bye. All right. Give me 1 second to split the show. All right. Guess what? It's me and you. We are about to do a quick start about something that has been near and dear to my heart for, a little bit. And it is called Rooting Out Underground Railroad Paths and People. So the Underground Railroad, I think, genealogically is understudied. We do, of course, spend time in newspaper ads. But, if you are interested in, say, you have a family story about an Underground Railroad ancestor, I'm going to share with you some ways to understand what path they might have taken and also records where their names might show up. And just realize that the Underground Railroad is very regional, right? And I'll talk about that in a second. So, do any of you have any ancestors that were Underground Railroad conductors or agents, or possibly those who have run away? Have you had that story? So let's go ahead and get started with rooting out Underground Railroad paths and people. There's so much out there. It's important for us to hold up and tell the stories of those who made a choice to get out of there and run away. So let's go ahead and get started, and we'll start with step 1, which is to document an Underground Railroad person, location, and time. So this quick start has many facets. One, if you're looking for a specific person, this quick start will help you. If you have a location, which is what I had, which is Lawnside, New Jersey, I'm trying to document a location in a specific time period. I don't have a specific person. So this quick start will be helpful for that as well. So what do we have? So that's step 1. You want to document them, write up what you know. So what I knew is that Peter Mott was an Underground Railroad agent, and he helped to move people from Snow Hill, New Jersey, which is about 11 miles from Philadelphia, in South Jersey. And he also connected with other towns in New Jersey, like Morristown and Haddonfield, and I think Pennsauken. And so I wanted to find out if I could figure out which people might have come through here. Everybody wants Harriet Tubman to come through all the Underground Railroad houses. So we don't have that. But hey, the more I dig, you never know what I might find. So step 1 is just to write down everything that you know about that person. If it's an ancestor that you had a story about, trace them back as far as you can to 1870 to 1865. As far back as you can get them. And hopefully, if you can find out who their enslaver is, there'll be more records that will help you to find more about them. So that's step 1, document what you know. Step 2 is to then research newspapers for Underground Railroad ads. I have more than a few sites that have places where you can research Underground Railroad ads and abolition records. It seems like they're growing. Every time I search for them, there's more of them. And there's one site that stands above the rest. It's really good. It's called Freedom on the Move. So I'll show you that. So look for those ads. Look to see if you're looking for a person. Look to see if you see that person in those ads. If it's a location, look for that county in the ads, look for that town in the ads, look for neighboring towns. All right, so step 3 would then be to search for genealogy records. So for your ancestor or the person that you're interested in, look for any records that you can find on them. Court records might show trials about people who ran away, or people coming, agents coming to town, slave catchers coming to town, insisting that this person be given back to them. Look at newspapers for these as well. Runaway ads. And I'm going to actually show you, did you know that the census record shows you fugitives? Yes, there is census records, 1850, 1860, where you can see by enslaver how many fugitives they accounted for in these records. So I'm going to show you those. So search everything that you can that might provide details. Then step 4 is you want to research books and routes, books for routes and names. So books are probably one of the biggest sources of names and routes for Underground Railroad. It seems almost endless, the amount of books that you can find that have names of people from stories. And I'm going to show you a few just from the Mid-Atlantic, but there's so many different areas, the Midwest, the South, that there are so many sources that, and some of the ones that I will share will have data about these areas as well. So research these books and routes, and I'm going to show you them. One of the guys who wrote a book, I just want to like have a gratitude ceremony for him, because he did such amazing work on defining routes beyond what we already were always taught about the Underground Railroad. Step 5 is then to network with other people researching the Underground Railroad. You just learn so much. So let me share with you what I was talking about. So step 1 is to, let me bring this up. You want to come up? Here we go. Is to find sites that show Underground Railroad activity, people running away. So Yale University has a site called Slavery and Abolition. And on this site, they tag 4 other sites that is more than 4. There's a lot of sites, but 4 of them are specific to those escaping slavery, Africans seeking freedom. So you have North Carolina has a database of advertisements, Connecticut and Texas have one, as well as Virginia. But there's also another one that's really big, and it is called what is its name? Oh, Freedom on the Move. Freedom on the Move is a huge database that's created by, and participants are all of these colleges, okay? Cornell, Alabama, New Orleans, Kentucky, Ohio. So you want to probably figure out that a lot of these records will contain to the areas where these colleges are. So what I really like about Freedom on the Move is that it's not only is it large, I don't know the exact number that they have, but there are so many filters that you can use, and you can download tables from Freedom on the Move. It is it's a site that wants to share its information. So you can filter based on location. So I filtered by New Jersey. You can even go down to the city level, a specific newspaper, and put down dates. You can also filter by the type of advertisement. Is this an ad from an agent or an enslaver? Or is this a jailer saying, hey, I got dude and you got to come get him? We're going to charge you X amount of dollars per day for his care. What type of ad are you looking for? You don't have to select any of these. And then there is the filter for the person that you're looking for, whether if you're looking for a specific gender, age, etc. So, I mean, it's just a great site. I put in Gloucester County. So I went put in Gloucester because I'm interested in Gloucester County, New Jersey, which is where Lawnside was at that time. And here we have ran away. And so look at this term, ran away. So remember, when you're searching for things, don't just look for a runaway, also look for ran away. This is a term that they used as like, it was a descriptor of the person as opposed to what they were doing. So it's showing someone who was living in Gloucester County named Sambo. It describes him. This is the great thing about these ads, is that you get a description of the person, how old they were. Sometimes you get to learn their personalities. And so this is a great one. It has the sources on the side. I would try to get the New Jersey Gazette, which you could get at the Burlington County Library. They've done an index and everything. So you can go to their site and you can find some great stuff on this. This is, you can look in books. So this is an example of New Jersey colonial documents. So generally, when we think about the Underground Railroad, we're thinking about 1830s to the end of the Civil War. But they were running away during colonial times. And so just by looking up, I went to Family Search Labs and I did a search for New Jersey runaways. And I found multiple books, and this is one of them on colonial runaways. And this one was for Salem County. And this one's talking about a Mary Ann O'Brien, commonly calls herself Mary Bryan. She's short and thick, a fair complexion, has light brown hair. So you're getting all this description of her physically. And it talks about her outfit, her skirt. She has linsey petticoat with one striped with red, blue, and white. Now, this is the one that I'm really shocked that it took a long time for me to even realize this is here. This is an 1860 slave schedule. And I was doing research on Civil War soldiers. And one of the soldiers was bought for $300 by Lincoln. So Lincoln was buying slaves from Maryland, Delaware, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Missouri because he needed more men to fight and he didn't want them to leave the Union. So there is a man named James Robinson, whose enslaver Anastasia Robbins, she freed him and signed up to get the $300. But here we are in 1860, and she is in the slave schedule. This slave schedule is available in 1850 and 1860. And it doesn't show enslaved people's names. It shows the enslaver. And it shows the number of people by age, sex, and color. So here we have Anastasia Robbins. So this says one 70-year-old female black. And it has, here's one 16-year-old male mulatto. And this one, see this column here? It says fugitives. So she had two fugitives, one who was 16 and then a female who was 9 years old. And I think it's a possibility that the soldier from the Civil War might have been this 16-year-old fugitive. So check the slave schedules for your enslaver to see if indeed they had any fugitives. Maps are great to help you to learn the routes. And so here's a map showing basic Underground Railroad routes. And these are routes that are kind of, if it goes through New Jersey, it looks like it's just coming, that one line come across the state. But notice it's going north and it's going south. So generally, if you were in these lower southern regions, they believe that you would be heading south to, say, Mexico. If you were in Alabama and Mississippi and Louisiana, it was more of a chance that you were going to come up the middle of the country. But if you were in the mid-Atlantic or in the eastern seaboard, you were going to come up the eastern seaboard or through the mid-Atlantic. This is Siebert. Siebert was the first person to create a map of the Underground Railroad routes and write a book. He wrote a book on the Underground Railroad. And Siebert is maligned because he only interviewed Quakers. And so it became the Quaker story of the Underground Railroad. And so that is a challenge because they had the only voice, but it does not diminish the routes that were shared. So this is a great map that you can get online very easily. And then this is a New Jersey map from Steal Away, Steal Away. The New Jersey State Archives created a map, a book about the Underground Railroad locations in the state of New Jersey. And this was created quite some time ago, early in the century. And again, you can see that the routes go along the Delaware River, just along the coast, like no activity in here. This is just all people just, And I hope you haven't fallen out your chair that there was slavery in New Jersey. Yeah, there was slavery. So when I say read books, because they will lead you to the proper space, this is a book called The Underground Railroad in New York and New Jersey. He also has one for Pennsylvania, and I think he does have another one as well. But William Swatalia did an amazing job of describing the Underground Railroad routes. He did such an amazing job that I created boards from his work. So let me show you. So I created a ArcGIS story map showing the different routes to freedom. And so my goal is, what are the routes to Lawnside? Which routes came to Snow Hill? So from this book, I went into this book with that intention. And I was able to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I think there's actually 7 routes to Lawnside on the Underground Railroad. This is 2 of the different routes. And notice this is more in the interior of New Jersey that no one else is showing. Here are 4 more routes. And notice again, they're in that blank area where they showed no activity. And here, lots of Underground Railroad routes and stops in South Jersey. So just reading these books can give you ideas of what has been shared as these Underground Railroad routes. And this is one more. Again, more into the interior and exterior, but all come into Snow Hill. So we have 4, 5, 6, 7 routes coming to Snow Hill that I learned about from this book. Now, the people. So learning the routes are fun, but think about, where your ancestor ended up and where you might have found them as enslaved, and possibly bridging that gap, the gap with knowing what the actual route might have been. People. There are a lot of books out there that are going to help you with the people. So William Still is considered like the Underground Railroad man in this Mid-Atlantic area of Pennsylvania. Let's say he's the Underground Railroad man in Pennsylvania. There are Underground Railroad giants all in every area. So know who they are. But if they came through Philadelphia, hopefully they came through William Still, because he might have put them in his Journal C. So what you see here is Journal C, and Journal C is housed or owned by the Historical Society of Pennsylvania. And so if you go to their website, you Google HSP and Journal C, and it'll bring you to this page. For me, the only thing that was working was the full download of the PDF transcription. So you want to download that. And in there, you could do a Control F. You can search for your names. You can search for your locations, where they came from, where you think they ended up. And this is a recent book that was written. Let me take my face off of here so you can see it, by Andrew Deemer on William Still. If you're interested in learning more, take a look. So that's one book. So let me show you Journal C. Let's go into Journal C. So this is what a Journal C page looks like, and this is what the transcription looks like. And so this is, is this genealogically important. Name changes. This is showing Arrive, Joseph Hudson, alias Joseph Neill. So he left because he was supposed to be freed. But when the master died, guess what happened? The son decided, that he was not going to respect his wishes. And dude said, I'm out. And William Still, in Journal C, he was capturing the stories of the people who came through his home on their way to freedom. So take a look at it and see what you can find in there. But also, after freedom, once we were free, he published a book, The Underground Railroad. So you want to check this as well. This is online at the Internet Archive. Check this online, because I believe that everything that is in, there may be different people in the two. So definitely look at this as well. And here we have one that I was very, very excited about, because this is by where I am. So it's saying this is about John Spencer and his son William. And it's saying that individuals who escaped from Eastern Shore, Maryland in 1853 were led to conclude that they could enjoy their freedom once they got to New Jersey. But we all know that Fugitive Slave Act said, no, you cannot enjoy yourself once you got above that Mason-Dixon line. And so they had gotten employment. They were working in Haddonfield, which is the next town over from the Petermont House. And they're working, but they found out that they're coming to get them. So they had to pack up and head to Canada. And this is all showing here in the Underground Railroad book. All right. And so there's another man. He was a abolitionist, anti-slavery. He was a part of anti-slavery in New York. And his name was Sidney Howard Gay, excuse me. And if you take a look at a past quick start with Danielle, she talks about him as well. She's the one who, Danielle Rose from 10 Million Names. She told me all about him. This is how I know about him. And so on here, they have book 1 and book 2. And it looks like he pulled these from the National Anti-Slavery Standard and put them in a book. And so you have the 2 books, and then they put them all together and they list them alphabetically. And so let me show you what that looks like. And so this is what it looks like in the book with the actual book. This is Mary Cummings. And then this is what it looks like when you look at them alphabetically. So they created a template and they put down the basic information that everyone wants to know. This book right here is absolutely amazing. This is Harvard professor John W. Blassingame. He wrote this in the 70s. And basically what he did, probably him and his students, is they combed letters and speeches and interviews and autobiographies. And this book, it's a thick book, contains testimonies that they're calling and telling their story of how they got free. And so what I was able to do here is to look through all of these testimonies and pull out all of them who either came to South Jersey, or it says they went from either Maryland or Delaware and somehow ended up in New York. Okay. Generally, to get from Maryland or Delaware to get to New York, you had to come through New Jersey. Okay, you might have went through Pennsylvania, or you could have come through water. You know, they would tell you if it was a waterway. But this book right here, I was able to pull out at least 15, 20 different testimonies of people who could have come through the Peter Mott House. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to research those different stories, see where they ended up, and see if I can find further detail. And maybe, just maybe, I can prove that they came through the Peter Mott House. We are looking for those stories. So, any questions from you guys? Anyone out there doing any Underground Railroad research? I would love to connect with you and talk about it. But for right now, I'm going to talk about the steps that I just shared for rooting out Underground Railroad paths and people. So step one, you want to document what you know about the Underground Railroad person, location, and time. Step two, you want to research newspapers for runaway ads. Step three, you want to search genealogy records like court records, newspapers, of course, and family records. You never know what family records might tell you about freedom seekers. Step four is then to research books for routes that they might have gone and names of people who went through these different areas. Step five is then to network with other Underground Railroad researchers. So that is the quick start. And where is it? I hope you enjoyed that. So thank you so much for being here today, and get to the bottom of what those words mean and find those Africans who were seeking freedom. Thank you so much for being here. Have a great day.